In Sri Lanka, the latest broad daylight killing of a lawyer and his wife did more than shock the nation. It reopened old wounds. A couple sitting in their car, in a busy city, surrounded by ordinary people going about their day, suddenly became the newest names in a long, unsettling timeline of public assassinations. The sun was out, the streets were alive, and yet the killers moved with the same confidence we have seen before, arriving, firing, disappearing, leaving behind a silence heavier than the gunfire itself. This episode begins at that moment, not because it is unique, but because it is painfully familiar. It forces us to ask why, after years of political hits, underworld executions, and high-profile murders carried out in full view of the public, daylight in Sri Lanka still offers no protection. In Sri Lanka, broad daylight is supposed to be a kind of protection. The noise of traffic, the rush of office workers, school children in uniforms, vendors at their stalls, this is the everyday shield we all trust. You tell yourself, nothing can happen to me here. Not in front of everyone. And yet, again and again, some of the most chilling assassinations in Sri Lanka have taken place not in the shadows, but in the open, on busy roads, at junctions, outside courts, in the middle of political meetings. Killers walk up, fire, and vanish into the same crowd that thought it was safe. This is the story of those daylight killings, political, underworld, and high profile, and what they say about power, impunity, and memory in Sri Lanka. Colombo, 2006, a Tamil MP gunned down. We begin in the mid-2000s, when the war was still raging, and Colombo was a city of checkpoints and suspicion. A Tamil member of parliament, known for his criticism of both the Tigers and the government, travels through the city in his vehicle. It is daytime. He is not in a secret meeting, not in a hidden safe house. He is on a public road, in the capital of his own country. Gunmen on a motorcycle pull up. Shots are fired. In seconds, a voice that spoke about federalism, minority rights, and political compromise is silenced in front of ordinary commuters. The message is clear, even in the heart of the capital, even under the sun, politics can be settled with bullets. The crowd watches, frozen between fear and helplessness. The assassins disappear into traffic. For many Sri Lankans, this was one of the first modern reminders that broad daylight is not a guarantee of safety, it is simply a stage. January 2009, Lasantha Wickramatunge on the road to work. Fast forward to January 2009. The war is nearing its brutal end. The atmosphere is charged with triumphalism, fear, and heavy censorship. One man, however, keeps writing. His name is Lasantha Wickramatunge, editor, journalist, and relentless critic of corruption and abuse of power. On the morning of January 8, 2009, Lasantha drives to work along a busy road near Colombo. It is rush hour. People are on buses, in three-wheelers, in cars. The city is fully awake. A group of men on motorcycles surround his vehicle. Witnesses later recall the sudden chaos, vehicles slowing, people staring, not quite understanding what is happening. Shots are fired at close range. Lasantha is critically wounded and later dies. This is not a killing in a dark alley. It is a public execution of a journalist in front of a country that had been reading his words for years. In the years that follow, investigations stall, evidence is tampered with, and alleged cover-ups are exposed. The case becomes a symbol of how power can bend the justice system, and how a man can be killed in front of everyone, yet nobody is responsible. June 2012, the Kathawana attack on a political meeting. Now we move away from Colombo, to the Deep South. It is 2012. A leftist party, the JVP, is holding a political meeting in Kathawana. The gathering is not secret, it is a public event, with 80 to 100 people present. Among them are villagers, activists, and party supporters. Suddenly, a group of armed men arrive, underworld gunmen linked to a notorious figure known as Jilempidia Mare, a loyalist of the then ruling regime. They open fire into the crowd. 2 people are killed, including a woman. Others are injured. The meeting dissolves into panic, people running, falling, screaming. The attackers leave, as if they have just finished a job. This is not just a political clash. It is a message. Even a public political meeting, under the patronage of an elected representative, is not safe from underworld-linked violence. Later, different narratives emerge. Some officials claim it was an internal feud. Others insist it was political revenge. But for the people who were there, the memory is simple and brutal. Men with guns came to a public meeting and turned it into a killing ground. The underworld steps into the sunlight, 2010s to mid-2020s. As the war ends and the country moves into a new phase, another force begins to dominate the headlines, the underworld. By the 2010s and into the 2020s, Sri Lanka's criminal networks, long entangled with politics and sections of the security apparatus, start to surface more visibly. A series of killings shocks the public. A man and his 2 children gunned down in broad daylight in the south, another man shot dead inside a courthouse in Colombo, high-profile underworld figures targeted on busy streets. These are not random robberies. They are targeted hits, often carried out with military-grade weapons like T-56 rifles, in spaces where ordinary people are present, markets, roads, even court premises. One particularly chilling case is the killing of an underworld figure named Ganimala Sanjeewa, shot dead in a courthouse, an institution that is supposed to symbolize the rule of law. When a man can be killed inside a court, in front of police, lawyers, and the public, it sends a devastating message. The underworld is not afraid of the state. In some cases, it is intertwined with it. Another case that draws attention is the assassination of Aruna Vitanagamage, a man who had previously confessed to doing dirty work for powerful political figures. His killing, too, is part of this pattern, people with knowledge of the nexus between politics, military, and crime being eliminated in public spaces. In this chapter of the story, the pattern becomes unmistakable: different towns, different victims, but the same choreography of violence: motorbikes pulling up beside a car, gunmen stepping out of vans, the flash of pistols and T-56 rifles in the middle of ordinary civilian spaces, and the killers vanishing within seconds. The weapons themselves tell a deeper truth: military-grade guns circulating freely in public streets, as if the war never truly ended. And beneath every incident lies the same shadow of impunity. These are not isolated crimes. They are symptoms of a system that once relied on clandestine networks for abductions and wartime killings, and then failed to dismantle them. The lack of accountability allowed those networks to evolve, adapt, and thrive, turning broad daylight into their preferred stage. Intelligence warnings: planned murders in the open. By the mid-2020s, intelligence agencies themselves begin to sound the alarm. A confidential report warns that underworld gangs, both inside Sri Lanka and overseas, are planning a series of murders across the country. 19 targets are identified, including individuals who have exposed underworld operations to the media. The planned killings are linked to disputes over the drug trade, territorial control, and internal rivalries among gang leaders. Names like Kanjipani Imran, Kaskota Suji, and others appear in these reports. What is striking is not just the number, 19 planned murders, but the expectation that many of these hits will be carried out in public spaces, in the same style the country has already seen: sudden, precise, and ruthless. TBK's Truth Frame asks, when intelligence knows that such killings are being planned, why do so many still succeed? What does it mean for ordinary citizens when murder becomes a predictable feature of public life? The latest assassination, a lawyer and his wife in their car. Then we arrive at the present. In a busy urban area, a lawyer and his wife sit in their vehicle, an everyday scene in any city. They are not on a deserted road. They are in public, surrounded by other people going about their day. Gunmen approach and open fire. The couple is killed inside their car. Reports suggest that the lawyer had represented underworld-linked clients, and that this may have made him a target. The Bar Association issues statements, the media runs headlines, and the public reacts with a mix of shock and weary familiarity. Because everyone knows, this is not the first time. It fits into a long, disturbing timeline of people being executed in broad daylight, in front of witnesses, with very few consequences for those who order or carry out the killings. Connecting the dots, what daylight killings reveal. From politicians to journalists, from villagers at a rally to underworld figures and lawyers, the victims are different, but the method is similar: public, fast, and often unsolved. Daylight is used as a weapon, not a deterrent. The killers rely on shock, on the paralysis of crowds, and on the confidence that powerful patrons will protect them. The line between state, politics, and crime is blurred. In some cases, the same networks that once operated in the shadows of war now operate in the open economy of drugs, extortion, and contract killings. Impunity is the real accomplice. When high-profile cases like Lasantha Wickramatunga's remain unresolved for years, it sends a signal: you can kill in front of everyone and still escape justice. From fear to memory. When a country gets used to hearing the words, "shot dead in broad daylight," something deep inside its moral compass begins to shift. Fear becomes normal. Silence becomes a survival strategy. And memory becomes dangerous. But memory is also the only real protection we have. When we remember Lasantha on that morning drive, the villagers in Katawana, the men and his children, the underworld figures killed in courts and streets, and now a lawyer and his wife in their car, we are refusing to let these killings dissolve into statistics. Will Sri Lanka become a place where daylight once again means safety, transparency, and justice? This is not just a story of assassinations. It is a test of what kind of country Sri Lanka chooses to be when everyone is watching.